Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, April 10th to Saturday, April 16th. So let's talk about last week. Last week we had Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, move out of Aquarius, which definitely a good shift. But we moved into Pisces energy. That's why things have gotten a little bit wish-washy, a little bit overwhelming. We're definitely down into the heart space trying to figure out what it is that we need, what it is we want, what it is we desire in order for us to feel emotionally safe and secure, not only in our own skin, but in our personal relationships. Venus, of course, being in Pisces is definitely bringing a lot of emotions to the surface to provide us with a little bit of closure. Although we do have to feel before we can heal, this is definitely the emotional heart space release that we've been looking for. And many of us still very confused. We'll be gaining clarity on that. But with Venus in Pisces, we're really going to have to trust our gut. We're going to have to trust ourselves. We're going to have to trust our intuition. And we're going to have to trust the greater, grander plan of the universe. Jupiter was very active last week, of course, really illuminating and magnifying for us where it is that we are growing at a very rapid rate. The growth, the expansion, not only in our physical bodies, but our energetic bodies as well, is happening very quickly. There is a lot of spiritual understanding coming in. There's a lot of closure coming in. There is a lot of dreams coming in. And for the most part, we are being tested. We are being offered an opportunity to take a leap of faith, to really trust our higher selves instead of our egoic selves. Because of course, our egoic selves is all wrapped up in why it is that we shouldn't move, why it is that we shouldn't grow, why it is that we should just play it safe and stick to the same old, same old. Jupiter semi-sextile with Saturn early on in the week, really illuminating for us where new roles and responsibilities are being presented to us in order for us to boss up and enter into new karmic contracts and soul contracts. And of course, we are whining the whole way along, but we are really realizing where it is that we're being called to a new mission, a new purpose, a new direction. We had Jupiter sextile the true node. If you're listening to this Friday evening, first of all, I want to thank you for being here. Secondly, I just want to say that today, Jupiter is sextiling the true node. So what does that mean? Well, it is the reason why we are feeling the shift. Don't know if you've seen the post that I made about the Schumann Resonance, having that blackout and then coming online and having this very magical beam come down to Earth. But that, my friends, was a true indication that we are shifting timelines, we are shifting vibrations and frequencies. Jupiter today putting a magnifying glass on the path moving forward, on our soul's path, our destiny, our dreams, our goals. That's what the true node is all about. And of course, we have to get to building. We have to get to taking action. We are also building towards the first quarter moon in Cancer, going at its perfect exact degree early tomorrow morning, around 3 a.m. to be exact, Eastern Standard Time. The first quarter moon is a time of action. It's a time of seeing the foundation of the new timelines, the new routines, the new direction actually manifest. And of course, we have to go back to the new moon in Aries that we just had, whatever it is that we were focused on, whatever kind of intentions we were setting our sights on. The first quarter moon is when we actually get to bring that into our awareness in our physical realms. Because this is Cancer energy, it is highly intuitive. The moon rules over Cancer energy. The moon in Cancer also rules over where it is that we need to find a safe place, a secure place within ourselves, within our physical realms, mostly our home. There's been a huge disruption to the home, to the family dynamics within it. Boundaries have been tested. Some have been crossed. And right now we're feeling a little bit shaky. We're feeling unstable. We're feeling unsure. because the Cancerian energy is very attached to the past. We have to find it within ourselves right now where it is that we're being challenged to break free from past elements in order to rise up, to stand very firmly in this new position of ours in order to charge forward. What are we charging forward to? Well, let's talk about it. This week, we have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information and communication and how it is that we express ourselves, moving out of Aries. Thank goodness. I don't know if y'all feel like your heads are going to explode with the amount of information that we're processing and the inability to actually complete a thought. But we're moving out of that energy and we're moving into Taurus energy. So as I've been trying to kind of, explain the cycles here, we get a lot of thoughts. We get a lot of rapid information, details, bits and pieces coming at us with Mercury in Aries. We're very straightforward. We're very direct. We're very, I'm going to say, aggressive. And that's why we're having this pressurized energy in our headspace. When we move into Taurus, this is when things slow down. Taurus is an earth energy. We get grounded again. We come back down to earth. Aries energy is like bouncing all over the place. Like, this is possible. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should focus our sights on this. Oh, that would be a great idea, but we never see it through. Mercury in Taurus kind of slows that whole process down. We put the tunnel vision on and we're like, okay, let's take a realistic approach to some of the information and details that have already kind of sparked excitement within our mental planes. And let's work on building on that to see it come to full completion. This is when we're going to be able to have a complete thought. This is when we're going to be able to apply logic and practicality to the thoughts, the ideas, the information that it's already stirring in our mental plane to actually see where it is that we can bring some of these elements to life. We are very down to earth and focused on one thing at a time. The downside to that is we can get stuck because sometimes we're too practical. Sometimes we're too logical. Sometimes we don't leave enough room for the element of unexpected opportunities and magic and universal divine planning to actually blend in with the logic and the plans and the strategy that we're trying to formulate at this time. You can trust that Mercury moving into Taurus is going to make us feel like we have a very heavy head. And we might feel like bobbleheads because our heads are going to be so big and we have the tunnel vision on. So we're very focused on seeing something actually come to life. Tauran energy being an earth energy is when we get to create and birth new ideas and actually see the foundation of our ideas come into our physical realms. So that's a great thing. We just want to make sure that we're not bumping into a problem, bumping into an obstacle, and just ramming our head against that wall and being stuck there. We have to have a little bit more awareness that flexibility and going with the flow is a thing, that we can't just get hung up on one detail, one aspect, that we need to be able to recognize where we can adjust those blinders and jump into something else in order to solve that particular problem. So we have that shift. That is definitely going to be a shift that we're going to feel in our headspace, in our thoughts, in the information that we're processing. We have Saturn, the Lord of Karma, ruling over structures and foundations of new roles and responsibilities that are very karmically contractual, if you will. Squaring, which is a tension point, it's a conflicting point with the true node, the destiny point, our plans moving forward, what it is that we actually want to see manifest and come into fruition. So Saturn is going head to head with our plans for the future. He doesn't want us to rush into anything. Saturn wants us to take everything so low and slow. And on top of Mercury now going to be in an earth sign that is low and slow, we may feel the frustration of not going as fast as we would like, things not coming into fruition as we would like. We have to understand we're still in Aries energy that would rather act now and deal with the consequences later. Things will never be fast enough in Aries energy. We wanted everything yesterday. We wanted everything last week, last month, last year. That energy of Saturn, because he is the Lord of Karma, he tries to slow us down. He wants us to understand that our movements, our actions right now are absolutely essential for the strength of the new structures and foundations that we're building to bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we want to be. Saturn is in Aquarian energy. He is futuristically focused. He is so focused on the end goal, the end dream, in order for us to be mindful enough to break down the steps, the chunks of actions that we need to take from now until we actually get there. So there is going to be this tension point, because many of us don't feel ready. Many of us are still in confusion. Many of us don't realize that we actually have movement going on, even though that we haven't felt like anything has changed. We have to understand our physical realms and our energetic realms are two different realms. And the reason why we have these ascension symptoms is because this is the attempt to get our physical bodies and our energetic bodies on the same page, on the same vibration, on the same frequency. Our physical bodies show a lot of resistance because we are dense materials, right? Our physical body, our physical form is a biological chemical construct in a meat suit that our soul, our energetic body, is in control of, or should be at this particular point in your healing journey. And we are constantly trying to shove the two together. Our energetic body is much larger, much bigger than our physical form. So when we're trying to contain all of our energy in this physical meat suit, that's why we get ascension symptoms, because our physical meat suit can't handle all this energy, can't handle the upgrades, can't handle where it is that we're leveling up in our DNA codes. So this is why we have this issue, this problem, and we are going to feel it literally in our bones when Saturn and the true node come together in this way on the 11th, mind you. We are going to feel it because we're frustrated, because our energetic body has grown so much, but our physical form just doesn't seem to be keeping up with the inner process that we're going through. On the 12th, we have Jupiter conjunct Neptune. This is the major astrology aspect for the year of 2022. This is a major thing. This, technically, Jupiter and Neptune, they meet up every, 12 years, let's say, because Jupiter takes 12 years to go through his orbit, and Neptune is a very slow-moving planet. So, within that 12 years, they will meet up. But it's been like over 160 years since they've met up in Piscean energy. And of course, Piscean energy is the unconscious collective. It is the shadow part of the collective that since 2020, we've been going through this great awakening in order to illuminate the dark, the shady, the not so nice parts of being a human, in order to bring it to light so that we can alchemize that and transmute it into something positive, into something beautiful, to make the changes so that we do not repeat history and that we continue to constantly want to evolve, to get to that state of unconditional love, unconditional peace, unconditional understanding that, of course, we are built of because we're from Source. And when we return to Source, we will have all of that. But we have to understand that that's the mission here. Are we ever going to obtain it? Nope, not here on Earth. It's not going to happen. That's why we come to Earth, because we are challenged in order to get back to the original state of Source, of unconditional love and peace and understanding. But that means that we're constantly having to do better. Jupiter and Neptune coming together in Pisces, we're going to talk about it here in a little bit as far as the ascension symptoms go, but this is a lot of water. We have Jupiter pushing us to grow. We have Jupiter pushing us into this expansive void of what it means to be a human, of what it means to be a soul, a spirit, because Pisces energy is about the soul, pushing us into the collective darkness in order for us light workers to shine our bright ass lights on that dark, funky bullshit that humans create, in order for us to raise the vibration and frequency, because of course you have to be aware of something in order to actually be able to change it. And many people just cannot walk around with their head stuck in the sand anymore. We have to acknowledge, we have to accept, we have to integrate. That is our mission. And Neptune, of course, is our higher selves. It is spirituality. It is karma. It is dreams and creativity. It is the metaphysical realm. Anything outside of this physical realm is what Neptune rules over. He also rules over the shadow part of wanting to escape it all, wanting to live in a delusion. And of course, we see the divide among humanity right now, who is awake and willing to tackle the ugly parts of what it is to be a human here on this earth plane, and those that would prefer to continue to lie to themselves in order to feel safe and secure in this little false illusion in which they've created and happy to live in. The divide is very clear. We also have Mars moving out of Aquarian energy and into Pisces. Now, let me tell you, wow, is this going to be a very interesting time for us. First of all, Mars, ruler over Aries season, fire energy, just wants to take action, wants to move forward, wants to aggress himself, to go after his passions, his desires, even if he has to use his anger in order to fuel the path in which he has to walk. He's been in Aquarian energy. This has been a battlefield of the intellect, battlefield of the higher mind. We have been receiving downloads, visions, inspirations in order for us to get our heart and our head and our body in alignment to what it is that we're now going to have to go after and chase. Mercury being in Taurus, grounding us out, making us practical, slowing us down. Saturn at play, slowing us down. Mars, a fire energy, now moving into water, slowing down. You best believe that we're going to feel this inner conflict because our physical realms, our physical circumstances are going low and slow. Our energetic experiences and growth and advancement, if you will, is going very rapidly. Okay. So Mars moving into Pisces. Now this becomes a very intuitive mission. Now we are only going to take action. We're only going to aggress ourselves. We're only going to move forward if we are intuitively inspired to do so. It's a very good energy, but it's a very tough energy as well, because again, we have to balance the flame with the water. If we take too much action, aggress ourselves too much, if our passions and our desires become too overwhelming, we are going to evaporate the emotional drive right out of us. If we are too emotional, too intuitive, we don't take any action, we literally are going to snuff out that flame. This is about balance. We're still in Aries season. This is about energy management. We are also building towards the full moon in Libra on the 16th. Coming at us smack dab in the middle of Easter weekend or Ishtar weekend, whatever you prefer, whatever you believe in. Please don't get me going on a whole Christian rant. But basically what it comes down to, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of who you honor, this weekend is pivotal in the calendar for one specific reason. This is about resurrection. And we have a lot of resurrection to be doing. Okay. Many of us just got the spark of life back with Aries season, with the equinox. The new moon in Aries gave us the action, the validation to actually bring that spark into life. Coming into Easter weekend is the resurrection time under the full moon in Libra that provides us an opportunity to balance ourselves out. What are we balancing? Our heart with our head, our ego with our spirit, our physical realms with our spirit realms. There is going to be a total shift, a total perspective, a total illumination on where it is that we have to pour our time, energy, love, and attention into regaining balance, recognizing the power and control that we have to have over our lives, bringing joy, peace, and pleasure back into each part of us, mind, body, and soul. This is the last full week of Aries season. This is going to feel like we are having the foot on the gas pedal and the brake at the same time, and that there's somebody hauling on the emergency brake sporadically, okay? There's going to be a huge step forward, and then we're blocked, we're paused, we're all jammed up, we're spinning our tires trying to go faster, but we're not allowed to move. Then suddenly somebody releases that parking brake, the foot gets removed off of the brake, and then suddenly we're already pedal to the metal, so the gas kicks in, and suddenly we're jolting forward again. It's going to be, I don't know if y'all remember your experience on how to drive a standard. Well, this is the bucking movement that we are going to feel throughout this week. So with that being said, mini rant, we have to prepare for a different shift, a different energy flowing through our physical bodies, flowing through our energetic bodies as well. So coming into this week, we have to understand that although Aries season is focused on us rebuilding our ego identity, because of the timeline shift that we're currently in, because of the new soul contracts, karmic contracts that we are currently trying to initiate, I feel personally that most of the resurrection, most of the initiation, most of the beginnings, most of this fire energy has been mostly contributed to our soul body, our energetic body, versus our ego earthly body, mostly because our egoic avatar isn't as important anymore. Many of us have already awoken to the fact that it's just a meat suit housing our soul bodies that, of course, is our source, us, is our soul source. But still, we need our physical bodies in order to maneuver this earth plane. And like I had mentioned before, our physical bodies are having a hard time housing the expansiveness of our energetic, of our soul self. So coming into this week, we are in a state of awkwardness because, of course, there's a lot going on, but yet if you look around, it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on. We can feel energetically that we're about to kind of run into a brand new chapter, a brand new leg of the race, but yet our physical egoic avatar is saying, no, nothing's changing. I don't know what you're talking about. You're kind of in la la land, you're delusional. And again, I just want to remind you, this is how we bridge the gap between the 3D and the 5D. Okay. Again, New Earth is not a place. It's a mindset. It's a consciousness. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. Many of our energetic bodies, our soul selves, are already living in the 5D, and our 3D body just can't understand why we feel so divided, why we feel so torn, why we are having this physical experience and a whole different experience on a totally different plane, totally different dimension. And then our egoic selves tries to tell us that we're having some kind of mental breakdown or psychosis of some sort because the other realms are feeling a lot more real to us than this physical realm is. And that's what I want to talk about right out of the gate. So whether you want to call it imagination, whether you want to call it intuition, let me just tell you, imagination is intuition's cousin. You have to have imagination in order for your intuition to be online. But many of us get dreams and visions and insights and we're like, am I making that up or was that downloaded to me? How am I supposed to know? Well, first of all, you can really tell where the source of the information is coming from, because when you're gifted with these visions, these ideas, these inspirations, if you will, you can take a deep breath, you can connect with yourself, and you can ask yourself, well, did I make this up in my logical, practical mind? Most of the time, the answer is no, because your logical, practical mind could never come up with some of the visions and the information that you're downloaded with. When you go ahead and you visualize the vision or the dream or the information or the details or the insight, whatever the case may be, you visualize that and you take a deep breath and you feel it in your gut. Like you know this to be true, especially because your current circumstances don't dictate that should be true, that should feel good, that it should kind of vibrate at the source of your soul. That's how you know it's divinely inspired. It's coming from your higher self. It's intuitive in nature. Your egoic mind, right? Your egoic mind doesn't want to think positive, doesn't want to think hopeful, doesn't want to be inspired. Your egoic mind is what is constantly speaking fear into the dreams and the visions and the ideas and the inspirations. So it's like many of us and many of my clients are right now, and myself, okay? I get visions, I get insight, I get information all the time, and I'm like, damn, I must be really losing it. I think I'm going through a psychotic break here. I must be cracking out. I have to be, because this just, like, am I making this up? Like, where did this come from? And you do have to slow down and you do have to ground your body out. That's why, having spiritual hygiene practices are super essential in order for you to do the work within yourself, to recognize when you do those practices and you ask yourself those questions, that you listen to your body. That's why it's important to be in touch with your body, why it's very important to be intellectually observant of your emotions, because then you can tell when you tell yourself something in your head, in your inner narrative, when you tell yourself something, whether or not it vibrates with your gut. So that's your solar plexus right underneath your rib cage. That's intuition. That is your higher self. That is your source self. You feel it in your gut. You know it to be true, even though there's no details to actually support that it should be true. You just know it has to be right, versus you feel it in your head going, oh, well, what if? Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, blah, blah, blah. You're letting ego run things, and you do not want to do that. So the realm, the metaphysical realm, the energetic realm, the dimension that is not here of this physical earth plane, like I said, many of us are already living in those states. Many of us, whether you want to call it 5D or New Earth or the astral realm or whatever you want to call it, it is not this physical realm. This physical realm does not make sense anymore. Nothing about this physical realm makes sense anymore. This actually feels like a play. It feels like a movie. It feels like a show. It does not feel real. And many of us, especially because of all the Pisces energy, with the major heavy hitting planets, now Venus joining Piscean waters as well, many of us are a lot more comfortable in the energetic realms versus being in this low vibrational earthly realm. So if you are feeling like you are living in la la land, like you are living in your imagination, like you are living in your visions, like you are living in your dreams, congratulations, you made it out of this hellhole, right? And if it's not causing any harm, by all means, live in that very pleasant delusional state, because Lord knows this earthly plane is not much fun. That being said, again, cautionary note, you can take it too far. We don't want you to be so delusional that you end up in an institution, okay? We also don't want you so delusional that you are creating, and fabricating a false reality for yourself that would put you in danger. But let me just turn you on to this. You have to be a little bit delusional in order to be inspired, in order to be connected to the higher realms. Okay, like nobody sits around and says, oh, I just got downloaded with a vision for this new business that I'm going to do this and then be so inspired and be so passionate about it for the next 3 months. That's not realistic. That's delusion. And that's how dreams are created. That's how we manifest our dreams. That's how we change our realities. We have to be a little bit delusional and float off into imaginary land in order to create a vision, a dream for ourselves, to be inspired and passionate enough to go after it and stop at nothing in order to actually manifest it here on earth. So there is a balance, of course. Balance is the key to everything, but we do have to balance out our physical realms that, for most of us, absolutely suck right now. Because again, the falsities of this fake matrix are crumbling. And when you're awake and you live in the higher realms and you're just observing the chaos and craziness of the sleepers still walking around like zombies in their little delusional matrix land, it can be a hard pill to swallow. That's why I say, if your peace and your safety and your security are in the higher realms, in the other energetic realms, by all means, give yourself permission to live there for a little bit. Check in with your physical body, make sure everything is hunky-dory on the physical form, that you're not putting yourself in any danger. But you know what? Live where your happiness is. And for many of us, our happiness is not in this physical form. And that's why the metaphysical realm is becoming stronger, is becoming more realistic to many of us than this 3D realm is. Time is broken. We've been talking about this for a while, how, well, first of all, time is man-made. It's a construct. And it's been a little bit janky lately. Now, I'm talking more than just losing track of time. I'm talking like time literally does not make sense. There is essentially no more of the same hours in the day. Because we are split, because we are living in other realms and not as present as we should be in this physical realm, but for good reason. I mean, that is a time issue anyways, but even more than that, and I hate to get, conspiracy theorist on you right now, but I think time, just as well as our weather, is being manipulated by man, of course. And a lot of it has to do with messing up our circadian rhythms, which many of us have messed up circadian rhythms anyways. B, the weather and the time creating a state of chaos and delusion within oneself is another effort to not only make people go crazy and in a state of low vibrational psychosis, but is also working to awaken some people. And one would say how? Well, as many of you know, many of you listening to me have already gone through the awakening process. How do you awaken? Well, you lose your mind, basically. Tragedy strikes, suffering strikes, a shift in reality, identity, circumstances strike, and you basically have to wake up. You got to wake up. And the time issue is really freaking wild. I know that many of you out there are used to meditating, and sometimes you can lose track of time while meditating. That is absolutely natural. But even still, to look at your clock, okay, and we're talking about habitual routines here for a second. I'll give you an example. I know that it takes me approximately 20 minutes to vacuum my home, and I do it in a particular order we all do. So to look at the clock and say, okay, it's 2:00. I'm going to vacuum now, and I'll be ready to do the next activity approximately 2:30. And you go ahead and you vacuum your whole entire place that takes you 20 minutes, and you sit down and it's only 9 minutes after 2. Well, okay, where did that time go? And vice versa. To go into a task that only takes you 20 minutes and then suddenly it's 2.5 hours later, like, where did that time go? The sun is not in the same spot as it used to be. The moon is not in the same spot as it should be. It's not even in the right position anymore. The crescent moon used to always be, to one side, and lately it's been at the bottom of the moon. And all of these things, again, I've been saying, like, we live in the Truman Show, but all of these things are like huge indicators that, like, the matrix is crumbling. Time is not right. Sunshine is not right. The weather systems, as we know, are man-made and man-manipulated anyways. There are far more storms. There are far more cloudy ass days blocking out the sun for a couple of reasons. Why do we want to know this? Well, our physical bodies require the vitamin D. Also, the sun is being blocked for a couple of reasons because, as you know, the Ascension symptoms come from the sun. When the sun has sunspots, solar flares, CMEs popping off, giving us that beautiful solar winds, that plasma, that electromagnetic frequency comes into the earth, blasts us, levels the earth vibration up and all of its inhabitants on it, gives us our energetic level up. That's why we have the Ascension symptoms, because our energetic body is growing at a rate that our physical forms can't house. And they're literally trying to block the sun out to prevent more people, not only from waking up, but from leveling up, right? Like, honestly, we are just in a video game where the mission of the video game instructors and engineers is to kill us. And, lucky for us, the war has already been won. I feel like I need to repeat myself in saying that. The spiritual war that we're in has already been won in the higher realms. It just takes a lot more time for it to manifest here on this physical realm. So many of you will be saying, well, geez, it don't look like the light is won to me. Not on this physical realm, it hasn't. We have a little bit to go before we're going to see the positive turnout of the war that has already been waged and won in other dimensions. But we are seeing the, I'm going to call it the indicators, the validation points that, the transformation is happening. We are going through the process. And we know that because time and the sun and the moon and just this whole freaking 3D reality is it just feels fake. It's just evident that we're just on a big soundstage and that, we are just being manipulated. And it doesn't feel good, but you know what? That is the illusion that needs to crack in order for us to actually enlighten ourselves and advance our energies into other realms. So what does this mean for ascension symptoms? Well, as you know, there's been a lot of pressure in the head. We can definitely put that blame, if you will, on Aries season, on Mercury, especially being in Aries. There's a lot of head pressure, a lot of ear popping, a lot of crown activations, a lot of tension in the teeth and in the jaw. Those are the pressure points that Aries energy rules over. There's a lot of discomfort in our heads, especially if you consider that the neck is the bridge between the head and the lower form of the body. There's a lot of tension, a lot of cracking, a lot of sprained necks going on. We're feeling that, especially coming out of your sleep state. There's a lot of tension in the neck because we are moving into Mercury, moving into Taurus energy. This is what I talked about earlier. Like, we're going to have bobblehead syndrome. Like, our heads are too big. They're too heavy. They're too weighted. They might feel like the weight of the world on our shoulders once we enter into that earthly type of energy. We're starting to slow down. We have to become a little bit more focused on our physical realm, grounded in our thoughts, practical and logical in our plans. It's going to be a tough adjustment, especially seeing, like I had kind of mentioned earlier, we have our foot on the gas, our foot on the brake, and somebody is wrenching on that emergency brake as well. And we're bucking along. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is gas. Okay, we got a lot of bubble guts going on. We got a lot of trapped gas. We are fired up, fueled up, gassed up in all kinds of different ways. Our eating habits have changed. Many of us aren't even hungry, but we're eating just for the sake of feeling that sensation, trying to ground out our bodies. And let me just remind you, our energetic form does not need food. Our energetic form needs energy. So the foods that you are putting into your physical form should be energy-filled foods. What are energy-filled foods? Fruits and vegetables. GMO foods, I mean, if at all possible, if you can avoid them, definitely do that. But we live in a world right now where even quote-unquote organic foods are semi-contaminated by man. So we want to just try to keep it as clean as possible. Many of us are eating junk food, eating heavy meals like, meat products. And again, we get into it every single time I bring up meat products. I always get people going, meat products are essential to some people's diets. Yes, I get that. By all means, go ahead. But also keep in mind how much meat you're actually putting in your body, because meat decomposes at a faster rate than what your intestines and your stomach can actually break down and process, which means at some point, if you have the cleanest intestinal tract, you're still having decomposed, rotten meat just make a mess inside of your body before it actually exits out. God forbid you have any stomach gut issues whatsoever, and it slows the process up even more. You are dealing with a whole ecosystem in your gut biome that, is just not helping your physical body. Sure as hell isn't helping your energetic body as well. Fasting is a thing, but I want you to be careful with fasting. Fasting, like, we're in a time, we're in Aries energy, which is burning through our energy force, our life force, our physical body force faster than what it is that we would like. I think that fasting is a great thing, but it has to be done in the right lunar cycle. It has to be done in the right elemental energy cycle. It has to be done at the right time for you in your individual chart. I want to throw huge caution out there. Fasting is not a thing that you should just do willy-nilly. It does have to be strategic. It should be as energetically aligned with the cosmos as possible in order to clean your system out Of course, our energetic body could use our fasting routine a little bit more frequently than many of us are used to, because our physical forms have wants, needs, and desires that our energetic form just does not align with. We've been having a lot of acid reflux, and that is for good reason. Again, we have to think of the fire in the cosmos, the fire in our physical form, the fire in our body. We are fired up, we are gassed up in all the right ways. But that fire is also a fire in our digestive system. And of course, if we're not eating the right foods, even if we are eating the right foods, there can be this regurgitation, this acid reflux coming back because our systems aren't moving fast enough. And so when our physical bodies aren't digesting food fast enough, it's got nowhere to go. And Aries energy, fire energy, just wants to bounce around anyways. And therefore it can come on back up and it can burn because, of course, it's fire, it's acid. And we really have to take note of that. And instead of going to a pill bottle, I really recommend that you use herbs and tinctures and other healing modalities and methods in order to curb that acid reflux instead of prescription drugs. So many of us are confused because, we come into a new calendar, we come into Aries season, we come into all this fire. Everybody thinks that, we're supposed to have a new direction. We're supposed to have a new meaning. We're supposed to have a new purpose. It should be clear by now. No. That mission, it takes a while to have clarity. We are going to gain a little bit more clarity when Mercury moves into Taurus, helping our mental plane sort through some of the ideas and inspirations that have already been downloaded to us that we keep jumping around like a pinball machine. We are feeling this new mission, this new purpose that will be exasperated by Jupiter and Neptune, really awakening us to our spiritual purpose, our karmic lessons, our soul contracts. That's coming. We do have cold feet. I'm not going to lie. We do have cold feet. Many of us very hesitant because our physical circumstances, our physical bodies are not prepared, not ready, not understanding what our energetic soul bodies already know to be true. Again, this is putting us in certain physical circumstances in our physical realms in order to take a leap of faith, trusting our gut, knowing that what it is that we know to be true inside of us doesn't make logical or practical sense to our egoic body or our physical circumstances. That gives us temperature fluctuations. It gives us cold feet. It gives us swelling of the feet. I want to talk about swelling here for just 1 second because we talked about Jupiter and Neptune being in Pisces energies. And Jupiter magnifies whatever is going on in our emotions, in our circumstances, in our intuition, whatever's going on. Jupiter just puts a magnifying glass onto. The fact that Jupiter and Neptune are coming together in this way in Piscean energy, we have to think that there's going to be an overwhelming amount of water retention in our bodies, a need for water, a need for thirst. We're also going to see a lot of water take place in weather patterns. We will likely see flooding. We will likely see waters rising. We will see emotions rising, especially seeing how we're moving into a week where we're building to a full moon where water retention and emotions get overwhelmed. Anyways, we're going to see an expansion in all the water elements, how water affects us in every freaking way. Are you going to cry for no reason? Probably. Are you going to cry tears of sadness, tears of happiness, tears of anxiety, tears of excitement? Most likely. Are you going to feel bloated? Are you going to feel puffy? Probably. Are you going to feel just overwhelmed in your intuition, in your heart space, and want to run away and, dig a hole in the ground and just kind of curl up there? Probably. So, expect this, right? This is what the whole point of these forecasts are, is to plant the seed in your mind so that your observer, when you're in the situation that, is now coming into your physical realms, your higher self, your observer self will say, you already knew this. The seed was already planted. You have the awareness. You knew this was coming. You're not crazy, right? This is what the whole point of these are. So, with this water energy, with this conjunction between these two, we have to expect that our connection to the higher realms are going to be intense. Divine connections not only happening in the other realms, but divine connections happening in this realm. Contacts coming out of the woodwork, soul family coming out of the woodwork, information that totally changes the perception and the understanding of past situations in order to release us and kind of give us a clean slate, unburden us, so to speak. There are going to be some powerful revelations. Now, coming with that comes a lot of physical pain and discomfort and suffering. That's what ascension symptoms are. When our energetic body swells, our physical body feels the pressure of that. So, I mean, the typical ascension flu symptoms of like sore throat and feeling flu-like and dizzy and ear ringing and, nausea, all of that is pretty freaking standard. And when you're watching the Schumann Resonance and the space weather popping off, and we have, anything over a KP2, or we have an influx of solar flares or solar winds, or, we have all of these plasmic ejections from the sun, you best believe that you're going to have ascension symptoms like that. You shouldn't be surprised at this point. We have the tools, the resources to predict this stuff. That's why we do these forecasts, in order to prepare us for the week ahead. Anyways, our eyes are changing. So our physical eyes are changing. We are able to let in more of the light spectrum, which means that we're seeing orbs, we're seeing figures, we're seeing sparkles, we're seeing the lines of the matrix. Our physical eyes can get cloudy. It feels like there's something in there. It feels like there's a haze. They might even be blurry. It's because our egoic avatar wants to talk our physical selves out of the aha moments of spiritual evolution that we are experiencing, right? Our higher selves are seeing the other realms bleed over into this one. This is called an interdimensional bleed, right? Our higher selves, our gut, our soul knows what is going on. Our ego self needs to make sense of it, and you can't make sense of this stuff. And our ego speaks fear. It's a lower vibrational frequency. Our ego wants to talk us out of these spiritual experiences. So now we're saying, oh, well, maybe I should go to the eye doctor. Maybe I need new glasses. Maybe I'm getting pink eye. Maybe there's just something in there. Maybe there's an eyelash in there. Whatever, okay? Your egoic avatar is going to try and talk all kinds of logical, practical, common sense into your spiritual experiences, which totally sucks the energetic magic out of this whole advancement into our highest selves. So you really got to get a grip on what it is that you allow to have happen in your head and who it is that's actually in charge of this experience here, your ego self or your higher self. The sounds, the frequencies are getting louder. They're getting more high pitched. They're getting more debilitating. I will be honest. Sometimes those ear ringings, those high pitched frequencies coming in are just paralyzing. And again, this is happening because now our auditory system is perceiving a higher range, a higher vibration, a higher frequency. A couple of weeks ago, we reached a level of no return. We can't go back to those lower level vibrational frequencies. The earth won't go back to those lower vibrational frequencies. We set a new bar, a new level, a new grounding point for what it is that we can experience from here. And because of that, our physical, biological, chemical, physical meat suits are really struggling to handle the new sensory experiences that our energetic selves are very comfortable with, that the higher realm frequencies, the other realms that we live in, are very normal to us, that again, our egoic avatar will literally fight us to the death to try and make common sense out of something that can never be explained. So we have to be on check with what it is that we actually allow ourselves to believe in. Now, the tongue, I want to talk about the tongue for a second. Many of us, Mercury and Aries have been popping off, speaking our truth, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration coming out of our throat chakras. And our tongue has been pretty quick to speak out, our tongue, pretty just speaking out verbal vomit, like we talked about last week, and speaking out some very hurtful, painful truths. And sometimes our physical form suffers with that blast energy. And this week, I feel like many of us, because this is, essentially the changeover, many of us are going to have little bumps, little sores, little blisters, biting your tongue, a sore tongue, basically a swollen tongue with the water retention. There's a lot going on in that mouth, in that throat chakra. And because our frequencies are changing, the frequency of our voice is changing as well. And because our physical forms aren't used to the the energetic vibration that we're speaking, we're having what I like to call, symptomatic validation points, that our energetic body and our physical body are trying to get back on the same page. We just need to remember that we're moving into a time where our intuition, our higher selves, our soul self has gone through such a dramatic and intense transformation that our physical form is struggling to keep up with it. And like I had mentioned, like Aries season is supposed to be about rebuilding the identity. Well, many of us are right now, we've jumped timelines, we've jumped storylines, we've jumped in new soul contracts, we've locked in new vibrations and frequencies. And for many of us, this Aries energy is being spent on redefining, re-strengthening, re-identifying who it is that we are in the energetic realms. Because again, the importance of this physical realm is becoming less and less by the day. The more we realize the fake, false illusion of this 3D earthly realm, the lack of desire to stay here becomes overwhelming. Therefore, we have to be stronger in our energetic realms to live in an experience where our vibration and frequency among the like-minded collective is more accepted, integrated, acknowledged, and reciprocated in those higher realms than us giving two Fs, whether or not we fit into this earthly realm or not. We're not meant to fit into this earthly realm. Stop trying to fit into this earthly realm. We are not here to fit in. We are here to be the leaders of creating a brand new earth. And this is exactly what we're doing. That's why we are warriors of the light. That's why we're going through the pain and struggle of bearing the weight of the unconscious collective, and why we suffer from the ascension symptoms that we talk about each and every single week here. There is a mission. There is a purpose. We signed up for this. We're showing up for it. We are blazing our path forward. We are blazing our soul contracts in the other realms, and we will start seeing the validation points in our physical realms in this here and now physical meat suit and circumstance. We will start seeing that be validated for us as we move again into next week. We have that resurrection weekend with Istar or Ishtar, whichever it is that you subscribe to, doesn't matter. It's a resurrection of our energy, our spirit. It is a rebalancing of both realms under the full moon in Libra and positioning us for Taurus season. What happens in Taurus season? We create, we give birth, we manifest, we dig into this physical realm using our higher evolved energetic self, and we bring magic into our earth plane. So we got this last week to get through before we got to get our hands dirty, before we're actually going to see the physical changes to our physical realms and physical circumstances. And like I said, you're learning to drive a standard this week. We are bucking forward. We are rolling back. We are busting forward. We are being pulled back. There is a jolt. There is a rhythm that we have to find. And by the time we enter into the resurrection weekend under the full moon in Libra, we are going to find our peace, our harmony, our common, smooth ground. So that's all that I got for you this week, guys. I truly appreciate you showing up. I truly appreciate you spending your time with me. I appreciate the likes, the comments, the shares. I appreciate the love and support, not only that you give me, but that you're giving each other. This is a beautiful community. This is a budding community. This is a blessed community. And I'm super proud of being a huge part of it. I want to thank you not only for showing up for me, but showing up for yourself. This is going to be a very interesting week. Reach out in the comments whenever you're having a hard time. There's a million beautiful souls ready to reach out, ready to support you, ready to hold your hand as the light warriors that we are to blaze this new path forward. Sending you nothing but love, and we'll talk to you soon.